Hotel fam, we are back. We're experiencing some serious technical difficulties this morning.
Don't worry, deuces. That's what you do on this time, right? Periscoping. So I was really feeling comfortable setting this up now. So now, when I get up with you cats, I look at you like family. So when I'm a little behind, or we a little behind, we family. That means we all behind. We ain't behind on the information. We ain't behind on having this platform. We ain't behind on keeping you informed. So I don't know how we're working here. I know I'm set up here on the line now, so we can use this one. That way I can let you all hear us when we come out. Am I being heard pretty clear on the line, brother line? Supercalifragilistic.
We good, brother Khalil?
Very good.
The sound is good. I don't have that echo.
Hey, baby girl, what's happening?
Okay, right on.
Amon, Rashidi, and Brother Burley Gates.
Brother Khalil Muhammad, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing fine, by the grace and mercy of Almighty God. Brother, just trying to help make it happen, like man.
Okay.
Yeah, let me scoot this over just a little.
Well, we gonna make it happen, man.
Oh, it's already happening. It's already happening. Let's see how we good right there. Man, I kind of like this little set we got up. It just came out of nowhere. Now, this is when it get busy. Anyway, what's up, Angie? My niece Angie's out there. Adoring them. I normally get a chance to holler at them. One thing about this I like is kind of cool to get a chance to holler at my family. Using the internet. Never dreamed I'd be doing that. But anyway, that brings me to the point of the issue. We're talking about Black Lives Matter. I think the rhetoric. What was it?
The reason, the rhetoric, and the reality.
Okay, let's go and break this down real simplified. I'm gonna pull this up so we can clear, because we're talking about my family now.
Okay.
So we'll get this real clear. Every time we start talking about Black lives, stop talking like you're talking in the abstract. like you talking about some people over there. I'm talking about my mama. I'm talking about my niece. I'm talking about my cousin. I'm talking about my uncles. I'm talking about the people that I love. When we say Black lives, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them being safe. I'm talking about Jaden. I'm talking about Amelia. I'm talking about Amir. I'm talking about real lives. We ain't got no rhetoric against nobody else. If somebody came out and said white power and it meant good for white people, I'm white power to you. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be a conflict. We're just saying that every 28 hours, an unarmed African-American male is shot by the police. And not just that, when we say Black Lives Matter, we got to speak it to ourselves too. Man, look at the rate of homicide that's going on in our community. Look at how many people are dying in our own hands. But I ain't going to blame us for that. I'm just saying we got to take responsibility for all of it. So when we put the banner up that Black Lives Matter, we talking about our families. We saying we want to be safe. We saying we don't want to be stopping something that inherently happens. We saying we don't want to be discriminated. All that's saying is I want you to be fair to me. And if you are my fellow citizen, no matter what your color, your race is, guess what? I feel like you should support that. All right, so that's my point with the Black Lives Matter. I want to simplify that.
Okay, well, my question is, I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric.
I can go right to that rhetoric now.
I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric that we term anti-black sentiment coming from the right, and some of it is coming from the left. So you got it coming from liberal and conservative viewpoints or schools of thought, and let's deal with some of the anti-sentiment coming from the right. There's a gentleman by the name of George Soros. He's a billionaire, and from what I know about him, he has he's a philanthropist. So he's, the hand behind several social justice organizations. He's very active in the movement, and I'm not going to vouch for him one way or another, but when I listen to talk show hosts on the right, I hear a lot of demonization of Mr. Soros, and he's worth about $25 billion. And at one time, part of the demonization, now just imagine that this man is being demonized for being the hand behind the Black Lives Matter movement. So people were saying George Soros gave Black Lives Matter $33 million.
Let me speak to that quickly. We are the biggest consumer in America. So anything that's given back, when you support one particular group that's a part of the American fabric, you're supporting all people. Isn't that in that Constitution? I don't want y'all to perceive us like we're somebody unto ourselves. We pay taxes here, we live here, we work here, we go to war here, we do it all here. So if somebody want to support an exclusive movement called Black Lives Matter, let's do so. Think back to Muhammad Ali. Look how much y'all called him anti this and anti that. Not everybody loves him because it wasn't popular. But it is popular to use us either for or against your cause right now. Nobody really cares or dislikes us. We're in theater now. And we've been written as a character. And we've been written by default as a villain. Now, no matter how much money you got, no matter how you live, Henry Louis Gates, you found that out too. That it doesn't matter because you can still be discriminated against. So whether you want to be a part of Black Lives Matter, everybody should be concerned with it. I'm saying everybody.
Oh, well,
white and different.
Speaking of everybody being concerned about Black lives and the reason why we should be concerned with Black lives.
With that being crazy. Let something happen to LeBron or Stephon Murray. Black lives are matter then.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But even getting back to George Soros, the people who are in charge of the money and the finance,
right?
They denied it. They said, "Look," and the people from Black Lives Matter said, "Look, you know, this man is not bankrolling our movement." And Soros and his people, they were like, or Soros's people were like, "Man, this is, I mean, where did they get that from?" So, you know, it's like, it's just straight up lies, you know.
Right. But that's been our history here in America. This is not new, you all. Us being lied upon. Remember, at one time we were considered to be three-fifths human. I mean, there were rumors throughout this country and other countries through propaganda that black people had tails. You know what? This is real conversation. Do you know how little we probably know about each other? But the key is, with Black Lives Matter, we need to start at home. Let me help you out. I'm tired of talking about everybody else. Let's start at home. I know there's some daddies out here now that could spend some more time with their children. And I'm not indicting black men specifically as fathers. I'm talking about all fathers, but in particular, our particular responsibility as fathers. Because it showed that we're stronger caregivers when we're in the house. The other thing that we can start doing, getting better along. If we don't have a relationship with that mother, man, we can't be going to war with our women. If Black Lives Matter, let's deal with our own damn lives. If you don't handle your shit at home, how the hell are you going to be out? Look, people respect you by how you are respected. If I treat my queen like a queen when she walks into a room, every brother in that room going to treat her accordingly. Really. But if I handle her and disrespect her and call out her name, hell, one of them may do the same thing.
Damn right.
But if we start to love and respect each other more, that should just be a movement afoot just for us. Look, you all, you talking about Chirac? Have we forgotten about that? No matter what's going on out here, man, we got to handle what's going on with us. And for 30 years of Griot Nation, we've been dealing with what's on the streets with families and gangbanging. And guess what? This whole situation with gangs is not over. I'm glad to hear the brother we met. If you got a chance to see the tape, we was in South Dallas. Here's the other part about the Black Lives Matter. Everybody's going to be coming to our churches now. You know Hillary going to. I'm from Arkansas, where Hillary is from. Everybody coming to our churches now. It's going to be like the Black Church Matter. I bet you that. We're going to see all kind of politicians in our church. But people don't come around when we're dealing with these issues that we deal with on a regular basis. We need jobs in our community. I'm talking about real jobs. Don't let somebody come to your church and start talking about they're going to promise you jobs after they get elected. President Barack Obama said that too. And it may be helping the country as a whole, but black men still have double-digit unemployment. And it ain't because we're lazy.
Well, you know, speaking of Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton said, to paraphrase what she said, and we can pull the quote up, that we need to forget about what happened 200 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago. This actually came out of her mouth, and sometimes, man, I just don't understand how these people do not understand the gravity and the insensitivity of some of their statements. So if you say that we need to forget about what happened 100 years ago or 200 years ago, now, we know that Africa is the richest place on the planet. It's just it's richest in minerals, natural resources.
The earth operates off 34 natural resources. 28 of those are from Africa.
So we're supposed to forget.
They ain't forgot. That's why they still in there.
Right. We're forget the Berlin. And wait a minute. She said we need to forget and just all let's make money together. Okay. So if we're gonna forget the Berlin Conference in 1884, where France, Belgium,
and the whole lot of them.
And the whole lot of them, where they divided up Africa into 4 parts and decided they were going to control the resources of the continent for the next century. We're going to forget about that? I mean, is that irrelevant? And you're talking about money?
To her, maybe. I mean, because she's not a part of our culture. And if you wouldn't go to a Jewish community or to a Japanese community and say that to them and ask them to forget about the horrific things that happened in their life, about the people that died and sacrificed for their life. How should we forget the hundreds and thousands and millions of black people who died at the hands of angry whites because they didn't know who we were, because people lied on us? You don't forget that. You commemorate your struggle and your love for your people the same way you commemorate when you put your hand on the flag. We got to have that same love for ourselves. And when people speak out against us, that's why you have to come together as a people. When you separate as individuals, don't nobody say nothing about what Hillary is. Is she right?
Well, let's forget. Okay, we are celebrating or commemorating the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. How do I know that? How do I know that? That's not something that's readily available in my mental Rolodex. You know, I know that because they're running advertisements commemorating what happened.
And monuments to that.
But we're supposed to forget what happened to us. We're not going to forget, and you don't need to forget either.
But this is how we should respond to that. We should check Hillary on being disrespectful to our culture. You understand what I'm saying? You need our vote in order for you to get... Listen, she cannot win without the black vote. Do y'all know that? You know how much power we really have? We can decide with block vote who we could want in there or don't want. But if we don't have an agenda as a group, we're going to be handled. And when it comes down to food, clothing, and shelter, you all in a society, that's when people really become bigoted and separated. That's why you see these militia groups separating, because in their mind they see that happening. And look, what I'm saying is, I'm not inviting conflict. I'm saying close ranks and take care of your business at home. We have to be working. We got to be communicating with our families. No matter what kind of fight you have, you ain't going to come home. You got to come home to a family, a support system. You can't do this all the time and not have a family support system. These aren't machines. We are real people. And you get hurt. You're concerned when the police stops you. You're concerned when you have these other issues that you face. These are real live issues that affect us in our black community. Let me tell you something. They tell you black lives don't matter. It matters, as I said, when it comes to Stephon Curry. It matters when it comes to Floyd Mayweather. It matters when it comes to sport. It matters when it comes to college football. It matters when the college, when you start talking about, especially college football now, and not only the prison system. So it matters with everybody. So we don't want to overdo it. We're just saying don't be played.
That's right.
Be careful of that narrative.
We're gonna, I'm gonna give out the number. If you're on Periscope, if you want to join the discussion, call 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254#. That's 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254#. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back brother to brother with Amon and Rashidi.
All right. We know we ain't breaking from Periscope, though. I don't know if they can hear me. That's just
How they can hear you?
Yeah, do I need to mute? I'm going to still have a little conversation with some people on Periscope while there's just 2 things going on at one time. Hey, y'all, so we may be breaking here on the radio, on the timeline for radio, but we're not breaking from you guys.
It's your man Khalil Rashid of the Griot Nation.
Well, I guess you
We're
can't do that.
tune in and tune up every Wednesday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern to Brother with Amon Rashid, where we come together as men to discuss the important issues that need to be addressed within our community. Now let us be clear, the women are invited as well, because we already know that no nation rises higher than its woman. So dial in to holler at your man Amon Rashidi at 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254#. Once again, that's 605-562-3140. Access code 389-254#. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern on Brother to Brother with Amon Rashidi. Now, back to the conversation with Amon Rashidi and on scene.
Okay, we're coming back.
Hotel Griot Nation, this is Pearly Gates. I'm here with brother. We're here with Mr. Amon Rashidi. You can catch us live. Call in at 605-562-3140. The access code is 389-254#. At 605-562-3140. The access code is 389-254#. If you want to join the discussion. Okay. Also, we're here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can catch us on Periscope. That would be periscope.tv/Amon Rashidi, and you can also catch us on Catch Me. That's catch.me/Amon Rashidi. We also need your support. Go to www.reclaimingthevillage.org. That's www.reclaimingthevillage.org. Because no nation can sustain itself. No nation can even be built without the necessary finance. We were talking about some of the important brothers, some of the important, quote unquote, to the establishment, Black lives, and Brother Rashidi mentioned LeBron James and Steph Curry, all of these cash cows for the establishment.
Well, let's not call the brothers cows.
Well,
I know what you say.
I hope the brothers don't take any offense to it.
You see, it's brother to brother, so we're looking out for our brothers. You know what I'm saying?
The brothers
they may be insistent, but we
brothers
won't be.
who are viewed by the establishment as cash cows, and we're in a capitalistic society,
and your children too. It ain't just the Steph Currys. Let me tell you something. Down there in Arkansas and Alabama and Tennessee and Mississippi, all these places where you ain't got no pro teams, your pro team is your son.
That's right.
They getting our boys ready right now, and this is what I'm saying.
Even in Little League.
Hey, and if the kid as much as gives us a sandwich from somebody while he's filling up stadiums, he not only could the NWCB give you NWCB, but the NCAA, but he'd be in violations of rules. So just be thinking about how we get played all the time. But I want to say this before we go any further. Emojibah means to call upon the spirit, which means we lost someone. One of my students, Donovan, I don't know all the circumstances of him losing his life, but he's a 17-year-old young man. And my God, they buried him last week, and I just found out from another student yesterday. And when we start talking about Black Lives Matter, that's part of what I'm talking about. Is the things that's happening in our community, and Will Smith also down in New Orleans, Emojibah to his family, former New Orleans Saints, had been playing ball for a long time. Supposedly they bump into each other, both brothers with means. You jump out the car and the dude shoots him and kills him. And, we're talking about it all over the news, but once again, this is a young black man here you don't know. And some of you don't even remember Brother Will Smith. He was only in his 30s, even though he retired. So, we'll lose Black Lives Matters everywhere, y'all. Not just on this TV. Not just as a topic. You have to personalize this.
Well, why do you think that people on the left and the right have a problem with Black Lives Matter? And what does it say to you when you hear someone say Black Lives Matter, and then the response to that is all lives matter?
Well, if someone came up, when someone comes to you all with a campaign and they say that they're trying to stop breast cancer, I don't jump up and say, no, I want to stop lung cancer. You understand what I'm saying to you? That's how silly that is, but that's what they do to us. See, when we're really serious about that, we ignore that. When they say, anytime somebody else propagates something else, we don't go anti. That's guilt, you all. That's someone feeling guilty about something that they have done, or they continue to do.
Let me bring your attention to something that happened in Oregon. One of the, I believe the brother is an attorney for the Justice Department.
Okay.
And I guess the point that I'm getting to, after I tell you what happened, is they are really trying to demonize the organization. A private investigation was launched where they spent close to $100,000 investigating people who used the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Okay? Now, in doing so, one of the chief attorneys in the Justice Department was snared because he had the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then it went from there to say on his hashtag, "You've been warned," something to that effect. Now, the picture that accompanied his quote was the Public Enemy logo. And when they saw the logo, they thought that the person in the crosshairs was a policeman. So you see how that went.
Yeah.
And now the Attorney General for the state is saying, "Hey, this is ridiculous. It's appalling." So there's going to be another investigation launched to, I guess, clean up the fact that these people are actually targeting people. The government is targeting people who are using the Black Lives Matter hashtag so that they can find some dirt, so that they can demonize them, so that they can eventually link them and make them into a terrorist organization.
Black Lives Matter has done nothing to anybody except protest the injustices in the field. They feel like that black people have been neglected. That's why you come up with the term Black Lives Matter. It is a cry to say, don't ignore me. It's a cry of empowerment. It has nothing to do with anti-anything in America, because all the people that are part of Black Lives Matter are American citizens. And it's disrespectful to those who challenge that, because they're exercising their rights as American citizens to be treated fairly. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you have anti-black sentiment in you, unless you just don't want to see us in that lead role, independently speaking out. When you don't have no problem with us taking leads in sports and play and entertainment, then you shouldn't have no problem with us taking leads in our own community. But that's how you treat the people when you still think you own them. And we still work for the people who have consequently enslaved us. You might not like to hear it that way. And there are other white people who are your friends, and they'll say, well, I didn't do that. Well, then jump on board and help. You ain't even got to say anything. Because when something happens, it's only going to benefit primarily white corporations in America. Our children have to still go abroad, fight, die, and lose their lives in the interest of these corporations. So in the interest of us living and being safe, if we create a campaign, we expect the same support. If not, I feel like that's anti-black sentiment, period.
Well, to all of the callers on the line, if you want to, if you have a question or a comment, press *6. That will send you into our caller queue. From there, you will be prompted, and then we will promptly recognize you. Indeed, you know, I'm really disturbed, because when I heard Black Lives Matter, you know, it was like that should go without saying.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's a response to pain and injustice. They're saying we matter. Don't forget me.
But
the we is us.
But look at, but to all of the opponents of Black Lives Matter, look at how we've been, you know, treated. Not just in America, but globally. Like I said, you know, the entire continent, for the most part, with the exception of Ethiopia and Liberia, the entire African continent was colonized. Look at the lynchings, the terrorism, the torture, the economic disparity in regard to wages and hiring practice. Look at the government experiments that have been conducted against black people, going back to Tuskegee and even beyond that. You know, look at the sentencing disparities regarding crack cocaine versus powder cocaine.
And look how crack cocaine came into our community.
Look how that came into our community. Look at the police terrorism.
CIA President Reagan. That's documented.
So who in the hell is questioning whether or not
the people who still think that we're 3/5 of a human, who didn't respect you then and still don't respect you now? The power brokers in America look at us as consumers only. We're like stock, like livestock. They control what they consider they want us to do. And if whatever they want us to do does not benefit the interests of our bottom line in corporation, then we're moved and herded to a manner by which they feel like we do. If us being gunned down in the streets and us constantly going to prison at $55,000 a head per person, then you look and see what's going to happen. And if the vast majority of Job Corps programs around the country is controlled by private prison companies also too, then they're looking at the bottom line. So that's a game. The school to prison pipeline is real. So in these educational systems, man. So at the end of the day, we got concerns, and we go back to the things that we can control. We got to close ranks and do a better job of raising our children, making sure they're aware of these challenges they face. Another thing that we got to close ranks and start organizing. Churches, you have a lot of money. There's a lot of specific needs that are in the black community that can be financed by the church organizations by you coming collectively together. Some people say you won't do it. I believe that there's some progressive churches, and I know there's some that are doing that now. So, and especially black actors, I see you all starting to come together now. I see you starting to talk about ideas. I love it because you're realizing that you've been marginalized. So now you're coming together. So now, what if we put all these together, the community efforts together, the theater efforts together, you know what I'm just saying, technological efforts together, because in technology, that black people are doing a fantastic job as well.
Well, speaking of black actors, Ice Cube had a very, very interesting interview with the Huffington Post. Maybe it was Bloomberg. I think it was Bloomberg Politics. And, you know, they got around, you know, obviously it's been in the news line or in the news feed that NWA was recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, the interview was about 20 minutes long, and they spent maybe 4 minutes talking about the induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then everything just, it shifted to social justice issues. And Ice Cube, I won't say he walked the line. He had some very interesting perspectives on, you know, politics, the presidency, and what it means for black people. You know, how we need to respond when these people come into our communities.
Right.
So,
well, hip hop responded in a big manner. That's how President Barack Obama was elected. You know, having Jay-Z at the helm, but everybody used Jay-Z, including getting the Barclays Stadium. I guess that's the name of it. A lot of games were played on us as a people, and we got marginalized. The community didn't really benefit from that. And as I see what's happening now, we're not greatly benefiting from President Barack Obama being in office. I think the country is stabilizing, but we still have double-digit employment for black men. The country is stabilizing, but every 28 hours, an unarmed black man is killed by a white police officer. We're having disparities in housing again. We're going back in time. And remember some of the things that PG just talked about. These same things were imposed upon Martin Luther King and SCLC. You know, they were called communist groups. You know what I'm saying? Communist terrorism. Just look at the transition. The same thing. And the same Martin Luther King and the same people, simple people who fought, bled, and died for those rights. That's the same thing that's happening with Black Lives Matter. Right now, you're like, don't compare them. No, we all the same. You understand what I'm saying? No matter how popular the name, we're living, breathing people who have the same level of importance. So I think we got to organize more. There's rallies that's going to be going on here in Dallas that I'm starting to see. We're getting ready ourselves to start to reclaiming a village tour to hit some barbershops. We call it BAM. Barbers as mentors, where we can come out, sit down, play a little music, talk to you at the same time, have some giveaways out there, maybe have social service out there, get your heart checked, you know, just get your vitals checked, because a lot of us have issues with health care, and if we're not dealing with preventative measures right now, we're going to wait, find ourselves in a hospital and about to die. 85% of people who die, let me help you out, die in a hospital. So we don't want to have to get there. And those are things that we can control. We can control communicating more with our mothers. We can control communicating more with our families. We can control becoming better men. You know what you got to do as a man. If Black Lives Matter, don't just let it be rhetoric that we utilize. Let's improve ourselves.
Hey, one of our listeners, she's an educator, and she sent me a message saying, look at our schools and how they separate our students. Our students are placed in special ed classes at astronomical rates. When they can't find something cognitively wrong, they put them in alternative schools. They automatically think that they are bad. Right.
And that is the perception, and we many times bought into that perception. Even if you see a young man whose pants is sagging, that don't make him a bad kid. That just you may not like how he dresses. That had anything to do with the kid. When you lump into those stereotypes, that means that you become insensitive to our children. So you listen for facts as opposed to listen for feelings. So their feelings are never taken under consideration. What do? They suppress that. And over a period of time, they become angry. You think, well, they got a problem with the school. No, they got a problem with your insensitivity. And you're going to use that against them to give them so many referrals. Now that the alternative schools, many a times that are controlled by the private prison system. That's right, Correction Corporations of America. Many of them run these schools, these alternative schools. And many of them, almost 80%, I think, of the funding for Job Corps is controlled by that. These are people who do studies to see who's going to end up in prison. You should never have your hands on our children or in that population. So we have to really go back, you all, and look at what is happening, like having this kind of data, and then realizing what's really happening in the schools. Your children aren't just behind because something is wrong with them psychologically. As I said before, if you got 25 children in a school, in a classroom, and 15 on Prozac, and 2 on Concerta, and 3 on something else, and they supposedly all got attention deficit disorder with 25 kids in the class, maybe something is wrong with the teacher. Maybe there's nothing wrong